Hello YouTube, this is the Shark Husbandry Network, and today we're going to talk about water changes. I get a lot of requests regarding how often to do a water change and how much water that you should change, and it's a variable question. So of course you can keep up with your nitrates and kind of see where everything's at to figure out exactly what you want to do. I recommend changing the water, once a week, small water change, maybe 10% or under 10% every single week for the first year or two that you've got the tank, depending on how stocked it is. And the main reason for that is because it gives the water time to get used to a certain system. The aquarium gets stabilized. Everything about the aquarium becomes more automated. The actual bacterial cycle in the aquarium does what it's supposed to do. Another thing that that would determine exactly how often you're supposed to do your aquarium is basically what kind of filtration system that you have. I mean, if you have a 300-gallon aquarium with a coral cat shark and 10 other fish in it, and maybe a Fowler tank, you're going to run into a situation where if you have a basic sump, let's say you've got a wet dry, which is very common. That's what I use with Skimmer Matrix in it. But let's say you have a 300 gallon per hour rated skimmer. Your water's turning 4 times per hour. No UV filter, and let's say you have a carbon reactor on it, or maybe a phosphate reactor. You're going to have to clean that tank a lot more often than you would have to clean a tank that had double the skimming power and double the flow, so the water was getting filtered at a higher rate and staying cleaner for a lot longer. I personally I was cleaning my tank or doing the water changes in my tank about once a week, and I was doing about a 13.5%, 15% water change, sometimes more, sometimes a little less, and everything was staying stable. So after about 2.5 years of that, I decided to do a little bit of an experiment, keep an eye on my nitrates, see what happened. I've now gone for the last 3 months changing my water once every 2 weeks and doing basically a 9% water change. I'm doing 90 gallons of water every 2 weeks, and I've had really no fluctuation in my water parameters. The only spike I had to do an annual sump cleaning where I clean out the matrix and everything that I've got in my sump, and that causes the nitrites and nitrates to spike up. But I've had no ill effects on any of the animals when it happens. After about 3 or 4 days, it settles back down to zero, and I don't have any issues. The nitrates tend to, they go up a little bit. They go from about the 20 to 40 range, which is what they're usually at, to up to about the 65 to 80 range, which is perfectly safe nitrate-wise for a Fowler tank, and especially for sharks. So my tank currently has 2 AquaSea EV1000s skimmers on it, and what that does is it gives me 2,000 gallons per hour of skimming power. I also run a UV filter, and also run a carbon reactor and a phosphate reactor, and I have about enough Skimmer Matrix in my sump to filter probably about a 4,000 gallon pond if I wanted to. And I use a wet dry filter with and the water goes through 3 separate floss pads before it actually hits the Skimmer Matrix. So my water stays fairly clean for a fairly long period of time, and this tank is stable. I currently change the water. I get two trash cans at about 45 gallons each, change the water out, have the water put back in. We just did it this morning. And my animals have had no issues. I don't overfeed. I feed twice a week. I currently house a white spotted bamboo shark that's full grown, probably a 30-inch, 29, probably 30-inch brown banded bamboo shark, a 34-inch banded hound shark or Japanese leopard shark, and a 23-inch coral cat shark. I've got a 16, 17-inch batfish, squirrelfish, and countless, probably 7 or 8 different types of starfish, not to mention a bunch of snails and crabs that have been in there for years that I've always had. And my tank stays fairly clean. You're not going to have a lot of rock in a shark aquarium, so you're not going to have a lot of that natural filtration that you get in a reef tank. So you're going to have to maintain that water source. But as far as water changes go, I would recommend one water change per week for the first 12 months. Put the tank together, let it run for 30 to 60 days before you put anything in it. After that, slowly start adding anything. As you see your bacteria levels start to move up and the nitrates start to rise, you want to make sure you stay on top of those water changes. If your tank's underfiltrated, no matter how much you change the water, you're not going to be able to maintain it. The nitrates are going to continue to go up. So if you use double the skimming power, you need a flow rate of somewhere between 8 and 10 or more if you can get it. Mine's barely over 10 times per hour of the water, and get you a phosphate reactor and a carbon reactor. If you've got all those things, you should only have to change your water at the most once a week. And once your tank stabilizes out and it's safe, you can do it after a year or maybe less than that, once every 2 weeks or maybe even once a month. I don't do it once a month. I like to keep my tank looking nice and clean, and I like the animals to stay healthy, so I do it every 2 weeks. But if you have any questions, please leave them below. I'll be more than happy to respond as fast as I can. And this is the Shark Husbandry Network. Thanks for watching.